Welcome to the Apprenticeship Hub podcast. I'm Rachel Simpson. I'm the Apprentice Engagement Coordinator for the Hub, and today we're welcoming Tom Burton from York St John's University to the podcast.
Good morning.
Thank you for coming.
Thank you.
Lovely
Welcome.
to have you here today. Yeah, thank you for coming out to see us today and to talk about all things higher apprenticeships related, which is a new one for us. We've never had anybody sort of talk about the apprenticeships higher side of things, especially from a provider's point of view. So it'd be really great for, even for my understanding as well, to understand what York St John's is doing in that field.
Yeah, well, great to be on the podcast, and thanks for asking. So York St John, we're a degree apprenticeship provider. We've been a university though for close to 145 years. Founded in partnership originally with York Minster, and then we became a teaching college, and then eventually teaching university and York Business School, and then gradually we got into degree apprenticeships about five years ago. So yeah, it's a growing provision, lots of exciting opportunities.
Yeah,
we're based right in the middle of York, so we've got this fantastic campus. But
it's a beautiful campus.
Yeah, we've also got our London campus as well, which is just two stops down from Canary Wharf. Right.
Oh, really? I didn't know that about York.
Right
I didn't know you had
as well. So
side.
yeah, two campuses and lots of exciting provision on both.
And you're quite new into York St John's, aren't you? Just to go off track a little bit here.
Yeah, 7 weeks, but I've worked in apprenticeships for close to 15 years.
Yeah.
Done almost pretty much every job. Been a work-based tutor.
Yeah.
I've been a governor. I've worked for an ITP, I've worked for a college, and then I worked for an employment assessment organisation. And then I came to York St John to do the last piece of the jigsaw, which is higher education and degree apprenticeship. So just about every job apart from pot washing and bottle collecting.
Well, that's what you did before you became an assessor.
Yeah, so
to be fair,
did the chef thing before then. So yeah, quite
similar. I was ex-hospitality. Yeah, so similar.
Good pathway.
We definitely did that before we came into this world.
Definitely.
So that's great. Thanks for giving us sort of a really good overview of like what St John's do. So in order to sort of look more apprenticeship side of things, so what actual apprenticeships do York St John's do? Yeah,
so we've got a handful that are around our business school. So we've got the senior leader level 7, we've got the chartered manager degree apprenticeship level 6, we've got the project manager, and then we've got a police constable. So they're clustered around our business school. And then we've got more specialist ones, which are data science, lab scientists, lab tech, which is a level 3 we do in partnership with an employer, and also one that focuses on just making sure data and data science we do with the National Statistics Organisation, ONS. So sort of the generic ones around our business school, but then the ones that are more specialist.
You see, because I thought you were going to say something to do with medicine, because York St John's has got a medical.
Yeah, so we do the healthcare scientist
trust,
one, which is if you think about hospital lab techs, healthcare scientists, we do a lot around that one as well. So that one fits into our nursing healthcare program. Yeah,
it's because it's one of those where you've got assumptions of what a university does, and then for me, I've been around York my whole life, and actually I didn't know that I knew the business school, but I didn't see the other side.
Yeah, and we're really close to the hospital, half a mile away, so we do a lot of their apprentices in lab science and healthcare science as well. Yeah,
and the data science ones are really growing.
Yeah, that's actually our biggest provision. Yeah, we've got close to about 150 on data science, and as you say, we do that from different companies all over the country. ONS particularly, our biggest employer. So yeah, that's our biggest provision. So we're quite well known in the data science, and we've actually got a third of all apprentices on that provision in England are on with York St John's.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it's quite a big provision.
Yeah, that's really good, isn't it? And are they a lot in Yorkshire then, or as you say, is it
all
just
over the country? Yeah, so we obviously we do serve York and the North East, but in the main, Yorkshire. We've got some obviously out of our London campus, but in the main we sort of look after Yorkshire, a little bit across down to a little bit of Sheffield, but in the main up to Middlesbrough way. So that sort of North East Yorkshire cluster. Yeah,
brilliant. So obviously apprenticeships look different depending on what sector they're in, how they're delivered, industries and things like that. What does a general apprenticeship journey look like for one of your apprentices? I know that's probably a massively varied question.
It is. As you know, all apprenticeships are different, but I think being a higher degree level apprentice, I think there is a difference. once upon a time, apprenticeships could only go up to level 3. So this whole degree apprenticeship journey has been quite new anyway.
Yeah.
But for somebody that's coming in, maybe has never studied a degree level before. I'm an apprentice actually on my level 7, and I'd never been in that formal degree setting.
Yeah.
I'd done my qualifications through further education colleges and then topped up overnight schools, etc. But so to come into a university is quite a different setting.
Yeah.
For a student compared to maybe being with an independent training provider or being with a college where you're usually in with sort of very similar peers. Coming to a university campus, you've got all the trappings of being on a campus, the SU bar, the student union shop, all the things that people associate with being at uni. That's all there. So you've got all that support mechanism which a full-time degree student would have, which is brilliant for apprentices. But then you're sort of looking at, the difference in level of study between somebody that might do a level 3 versus level 6. You've got all the sort of academic rigor of doing an apprenticeship at that level.
There's a hell of a difference, isn't there?
It is, it is. And that rightly so, because, we've got to be aware that people are coming to do a degree apprenticeship and they expect a certain level of study. Yeah. But also, we've got to have some parity with what a full-time degree student is going to do and gain. So there has to be that sort of level of study that people talk about Harvard referencing or ATP reference or AP reference and all the right things that a student should do. Should do. So there's lots of differences, but in the main, you get that similar journey. You've got that on the job learning, that 20% off the job learning that you're going to do. You're going to do online, like lots of people do. You're going to have a mixture of delivery. Then you're going to be working to modules and assignment modules. Then coming to endpoint assessment, making sure you're assessment ready. And then, of course, it's, complete your endpoint assessment and then work towards your full degree if you're going to get that degree, or topping up to the full masters if you require. So there is a little bit difference in the fact that we've got some add-ons you can do at the end, topping up certain modules, but you've also got the degree award, based upon your module achievement throughout the program.
Yeah, I was going to say it's not ever going to be a one-size-fits-all answer for it, is it? Because of the nature of them, that some are integrated degrees, some are the level is not to quite full degree, is it? And things like that. And then
importantly, what the government did about 2 years ago is segregated that degree achievement from the endpoint assessment, just to make sure that we weren't going to get this situation where somebody was going to achieve a degree and then not achieve their apprenticeship, and then all of that sort of apprenticeship stuff that employers were really valuing disappears. So making sure that yes, you're going to get a degree award, but it's also entwined with your endpoint assessment and your apprenticeship achievement. That's a really
because that used to happen on the level 3s a lot. I used to deliver the ILM sort of leadership and management apprenticeship, and you had to do an integrated diploma. People would achieve the diploma and then not see the sort of the point of finishing it off and taking it to standard because they've got the diploma, and they'd be like, oh, that's the important bit. And you'd be like, no. There's far more important bits to it. But actually what you've been doing is working towards the endpoint assessment, and you're not going to get that if you don't finish the process. Yeah,
it's a really tricky sort of conversation to have with employers and apprentices in that scenario where people have got ingrained in them the value of a qualification, the transferability, and then all of a sudden you're saying, yes, but you've got to do your endpoint assessment first. Yeah. You've got to make sure that your apprenticeship is completed first and you're at the right level of competency. And that sometimes is a little bit of a difficult conversation to have. But I do think, having been on the endpoint assessment side of it so long, it is starting to filter through that, you're going to get somebody judge you on your professional competency, regardless of subject. And that actually does go a long way with your employer to say, you've been benchmarked nationally by somebody that's independent.
I think that's the difference. Once it's that person that's impartial, I did both sides, and once it was taken out as an impartial person, that you're preparing somebody to go and see somebody different for those assessments, rather than the person you've become familiar with for months and months on end. Total difference, and a different skill set that was required. So it was a real difference in the industry, change in the industry.
Yeah, it was, and also importantly, I think we had to at some point recognise there's a teaching element to an apprenticeship, and people are really great teachers in our sector. But also then there's an assessment element to it. Yeah. And the lines were just becoming too blurred.
Yes.
So it was important that they split that out. And actually, I think, providers have benefited from having a separate on-programme teaching to, achievement and assessment. Because it does sort of really give that definition between the two.
Absolutely. So on average, how long do the apprentices spend on a degree on the programmes that you offer? And how long do they sort of spend within the learning setting compared to within the employer settings and things like that, just to kind of, because it's usually a big question that people have got.
Yeah. So we've still got the whole rules around 20% of the time is going to be on campus or via remote learning. So there's still that, in essence, 6 hours a week is going to be doing some kind of learning. We have modules, so they do structure a lot of that learning. We usually do it block release, but we do have some day release. And then obviously we've got that sort of integration with working towards the degree qualifications, which does then take up a lot of time. So I suppose that the major difference from what would be a qualification is just making sure that somebody's got in the right mindset for getting that study done. Certainly, I've experienced as an apprentice, you've got to really set the time aside to go and do your on-program reading, the reading for the module, making sure you've got the right context for doing your assignment. So there is a lot of work to put in. So actually, I found coming into the degree apprenticeship space, getting the off-the-job training hours in is a little bit more easier because there is that requirement to go and do the reading, go and do the self-research, making sure there's enough hours collected to put together a good portfolio. So actually, it's not been too bad really.
A successful apprenticeship means getting the support around you, like you were saying, and obviously giving the time and things like that. What support do you offer to employers in regards to the apprenticeships?
Yeah, so I think it's quite important at degree apprenticeship level because the employer has to understand the sort of requirements of a university offering a degree apprenticeship, and there is the expectation of the student that they will get certain opportunities in the work to either implement their learning and act in a certain way. So we do need the employers to be really bought into the level of study that's equating to the knowledge, skills and behaviours that are in the standard. So making sure there's enough opportunity to maybe lead meetings, propose strategies, design new products, implement test, stuff that's done at a senior level in an employer. So so you do need that buy-in to make sure that actually the apprentice is going to get those opportunities from the employer. So that's one thing. But how we support them, we do lots of events with our employers, bringing them onto campus. As I say, we've got a London campus and a York campus, so we do bring them in. We do make sure they're consulted on curriculum. We do make sure that they're given opportunities to feedback to us on what works well, what doesn't work well. And also we're looking this year as we get to graduation, because graduation in the degree world is a big thing. It's an important milestone in the calendar, to bring our employers in and actually have a graduation event for our employers, because we've got to recognise the value that employers add into the degree programme. And actually sometimes the achievement of the apprentice is well documented and broadcast, but actually the achievement of the employer to mentor somebody through an apprenticeship sometimes is quite an achievement in itself. So
they're not a year.
No, that's it. You've got an apprentice that's going to be with you for 3 years nearly on a degree, and they need that buy-in from the employer for that duration. So actually, we're going to bring them on campus and give some success stories out, and a few different awards, just to recognise that employers play such a big part in what we do.
What proportion of apprentices are with the uni that are led by the employer wanting the vacancy, placing the vacancy, and students coming to you wanting to be a degree apprentices? Where's your mixture there?
I suppose this is the big difference from what I've seen in compared to FE apprenticeships, in that actually people, especially now that it's on UCAS, apprenticeship vacancy on UCAS, that's a big milestone for degree apprenticeships. Actually, people recognise that I can go and, like a normal student would, I'm going to go to York St John and look at what degree apprenticeships they've got on offer and see what vacancies are out there. So we do work quite well with our employers, advertising vacancies for them, bring them on, put it on our website, put it on the Find an Apprenticeship service website as well. So I've found there is more of an appetite from students coming to us rather than an employer coming to us than us having to go to find a student.
Oh, really? Because I presumed it was the other way around, to be honest, at the moment.
I mean, you still get lots of I have somebody that wants to be an apprentice in my workplace.
Yeah.
So you've still got employers coming to us saying, I've got 10 apprentices or 10 possible apprentices for this new year. Can we sign them up? Can we enroll? So you've got a lot of that drive, especially when you're working with big governmental organisations, ONS, Unilever that we work with, Network Rail. They want to have cohorts coming on every year. Yeah. So they're saying we've got 10 this year, 10 next year, so which is great. But we are seeing people now, because of the UCAS search and the publicity that degree apprenticeships have got coming to us and saying, how can I study as a degree apprentice with York St John?
Yeah.
And then there's that careers advice and guidance that, we're giving us, okay, so what program? And sometimes it's not always suitable for that person because they may be coming just out of sixth form and maybe looking at a chartered manager or a senior leader apprenticeship. But actually that's not quite right for them because they've not got that leadership experience and that managerial experience. So we signpost them to the right places. But yeah, it is certainly swinging that way to people finding us rather than us having to go and find them.
And then obviously on the sort of the social value side of things, that they make degrees accessible.
I mean, that's
in
the
such
biggest
a massive
thing.
area.
That's the biggest thing that if anything, the apprenticeship reforms from 2012, Richard Review onwards, if there's one thing that's a massive success, it's the fact that people can access degree level study, funded by their employer, that's not self-funding through a student loan or paying for your
while they're getting a salary as well, which is
your parents pay for it. It's massive. It is massive. It's given people the opportunity to get that level of study and that level of recognition that maybe previously would never have done. I've been involved in apprenticeships a long time and see the impact of somebody just getting a level 2 certificate in hospitality and catering and how that's then taken on their career through level 3s and so on and so forth. But to now seeing the impact of people gaining their degree apprenticeship through their employer, through applied learning, through studying with people like York St John, Sheffield Hallam, Manchester Met, real great institutions in terms of degree awards. These are really pushing their degree program, which is really good for the government talk about levelling up and all of that. If there's one thing that can affect that sort of agenda, it's access to education, because it really does empower people.
Absolutely. I know we do a lot of careers fairs and things like that, and we're hearing a lot more, I'm going to do a degree apprenticeship, how do I do that? And you're like, oh, that's new. Like a few years ago, we wouldn't have had those questions and that awareness that's coming around. There's obviously work still to be done there, isn't there? And to increase it in apprenticeships in general. But there's definitely a greater awareness.
And if you can say to somebody, you're going to get a job, you're going to get your degree paid for, you're not going to have any debt, and you're going to earn while you do it. So you're going to get a salary from your employer. All right, it's going to be hard work, but any degree is. Okay, maybe take out some of the social elements of being at uni full time and living in halls, because that's doesn't always.
There's a different style to it a little bit with it, isn't there?
But it's no brainer for a lot of people now. And certainly I've been fortunate to go and do pilots around the world in degree apprenticeships, and people look at our system for degree apprenticeships in places like India and the United States with real envy.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So I did a project out in India on degree apprenticeships in 2018. I did some consultancy in 2019 in America on their programs in California, and people look at our degree programs with degree apprenticeships real envy, because we've built this system where people can come in and get that higher level study funded by the employer, and it really does transform lives.
Yeah, absolutely. So myths. We all hear them in apprenticeship world. There are so many myths. Obviously, there's new myths coming in with degrees and all these type of things. So which myth do you hear the most and would you like to get rid of?
Great question. I think there's can I have two?
Yeah.
Okay. So
can have as many as you like, actually.
so the first one is around my achievement and the fact that I don't have to do my endpoint assessment. I've been in the endpoint assessment world for 6 years. That one, I'll just finish my study, and if there's an integrated qualification or not, or there's a standalone mandatory qualification or not, I'll get that, and that's it done.
Yeah.
And it does two things. It devalues the apprenticeship brand.
Yeah.
It devalues the work that the providers put in. It's not great for the employer because they don't get that achievement. They've spent their apprenticeship levy, and they're getting somebody that's going to get the qualification if it's mandatory or not. But if it's not mandatory, then they don't get that apprenticeship certificate. So that corporate responsibility for the employer is lost. Yeah. So endpoint assessment for me. And then my second myth really is that I've got to have done a degree before going to do a degree apprenticeship.
Oh, really?
Yeah, that kicks around a lot.
Oh, really?
That's not one I've heard, but I suppose it's not my particular field. So level 7 degree apprenticeships. There's this. I need to have. I need to have been to university to do a degree apprenticeship. When actually now people come to us, with experiential learning experience that they've got, and evidence, why they should be on a master's or why they should be on a chartered manager level 6, because the entry requirements, they're a little bit stricter around degree apprenticeship, because we've got to be able to be assured that apprentice can study at the right level. Write in a certain manner, be able to use functional skills at the right level. So there's that, but certainly there's a lot of disbelief. Oh, I can't go and do a degree apprenticeship because I've never been to university. I can't do it. So if I can get rid of those two, brilliant.
Yeah, we'll keep trying for you, and I've just learned something as well, so that's good for me. Well, not learned something because I knew you didn't have to have a degree to go into one, but that people still think, I've never been to university, I can't apply, or I've not done a degree. Where do I go? What do I do? So that's really there's such. And it's a good one to get rid of, because so many people use apprenticeships for upskilling, changing of what they're doing later in life and things like that. They've maybe not made a decision particularly about what they want to do, and then all of a sudden they decide and they realise that they need to get a degree to go into the field that they're wanting. And apprenticeships can be that amazing route to it, because you can work and qualify at the same time.
If you're in charge of your workforce development as an employer, and you've got sort of a cohort of managers that you've had maybe done some little bit of leadership development with, or managerial development, and you've got them on a degree apprenticeship. Okay, there's the time and investment, for me 20% off the job requirements. That's a big ask for an employer. You've got the investment of the levy, but there is no better way of developing your workforce than having them on a chartered manager, project manager, or senior leader apprenticeship, because what it really does is give you the pipeline for your succession planning. Because it's bringing your people forward and bringing your workforce forward. And
they're engaged.
Absolutely. And it's a real good way of keeping your people engaged. You talk about a time when you've got, this great resignation sort of thing going on, where people are leaving for £1,000 here or £2,000 there, and going down the street to the next employer for, not much more money. You've got to really incentivize your workforce to buy into you as a long-term employer. And what better way than getting them a program where they're going to get a higher level qualification out of it.
Absolutely. I agree. We keep banging our apprenticeship drum in all different
big drum,
settings.
bang that big drum constantly.
Thank you so much for coming down and doing our podcast with us today.
You're welcome.
Much appreciated.
Thanks for supporting the sector.